Yeah, it's a really good point you make there because an industrial is grossly misunderstood. Unless you're exposed to it, there usually wouldn't be a reason for you to understand it, right? A lot of people think industrial and they think like down and dirty manufacturing where the chemical plant is located in your town. And trust me, there is plenty of that. But what's changed really, and what I would argue too, like 30 years, call it 30 years ago, 20 years ago, maybe even 10 years ago, a good majority of industrial real estate was exactly that. What changed? E-commerce. That's the biggest thing that's changed.
Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Welcome back to the show. Today's guest, Matt McLennan, is a commercial real estate broker and investor with a focus on industrial. Matt, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
It's great to have you, great to connect with you, Matt. And I always like to start off at the top of these shows by asking guests how they got started in real estate. In your case, how'd you get into the commercial space?
Yeah, for me, it was an interesting path. Actually, I graduated college. I got a sales job, actually working for a wine company in the wine and spirits industry, which was great job, cool thing to go do right out of college. I did that for several years, and I had some friends, personal friends of mine that I was hanging out with outside of work who worked in commercial real estate, and I knew nothing about commercial real estate really at that point. And just through spending time with them, I got to learn a little bit more about it. And I was kind of at a point in my life where I was looking and considering a career change. And so I started to look into commercial real estate and very quickly decided I wanted to get into brokerage, which, the brokerage side of commercial real estate, if you're familiar with residential, being a residential realtor, being a commercial broker, same thing, just working on commercial properties. So I just kind of took the leap of faith and started in brokerage. And that was 8 years ago now, and never looked back. And that's what I do. I work specifically on industrial properties. That's my specialty. So, I have clients, and I understand office buildings. I understand retail strip centers, multifamily, which a lot of people are really familiar with. But for me, I spend about 99% of my time working on industrial buildings, which can be anything from a big e-commerce, warehouse, like something Amazon would occupy, to a manufacturing plant there that maybe is making something, to somewhere that's a parking lot where semi trucks park between taking goods back and forth between buildings. So it really covers a really pretty wide range of property, and that's what I do. I love it.
We were talking before hopping on here about, maybe some misnomers, but also what people tend to think about when they think of industrial, right? We were talking about, maybe like an industrial plant, like a manufacturing plant, but we had mentioned, a lot of these are now, Amazon warehouses and, storage facilities and so forth. And I think I've seen it. There's more interest now, not just from some really large investors, but also from folks who may be coming from other segments of the real estate space and seeing the possibility in industrial, for folks who are just getting started in the space, whether they're looking at it from the investor angle or maybe they're a residential realtor and are looking and getting into the commercial side.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
What would be your guidance for folks looking at industrial?
Yeah, it's a really good point you make there, because an industrial is grossly misunderstood. Unless you're exposed to it, there usually wouldn't be a reason for you to understand it, right? A lot of people think industrial and they think like down and dirty manufacturing where, the chemical plant is located in your town. And trust me, there is plenty of that. But what's changed really, and what I would argue too, like 30 years, call it 30 years ago, 20 years ago, maybe even 10 years ago, a good majority of industrial real estate was exactly that. What changed? E-commerce. That's the biggest thing that's changed. And it's a place where these goods are stored before shipping out to your doorstep, before they're shipping out to the brick and mortar retail store, where everything is stored. So not necessarily being manufactured, but somewhere that it's being stored. So why that's important and why I mentioned that is it took industrial from something that nobody really thought was interesting or cool. It's made industrial sexy. I mean, that's the simplest way to put it. And so investors are looking at it going like, wow, these Amazon warehouses are very nice buildings. They're well built. They'll last a really long time. Amazon's a great tenant who will pay their rent. I want to invest in this. And so that's really kind of what's turned the tide on the interest in industrial real estate. You mentioned residential realtors or people familiar with residential investing who expressing interest in industrial. I think whether it's industrial or any commercial real estate class, you're going to get more scale investing in industrial real estate. For example, if you buy one house or a fourplex, like those can be really great investments, right? But ultimately you have, 1 to 4 tenants using that example that I just gave. And there's a limit on the rent that they can pay. But you can buy industrial facilities that occupy, 100,000 feet of building area or 5 acres of land or a whole business park that has 30 tenants in it. I mean, it's all scalable, right? But the
Yeah.
point
Yeah.
being is that's the biggest difference I see between the two is what level of scale do you want to achieve versus, again, maybe just owning a second home and collecting rental income that way.
Am I wrong in saying that traditionally, at least in the United States, when we think of industrial, we're thinking of companies that or uh, large entities that owned the land, owned the structures underneath, that were not typically renting out these spaces, and that's now changed with time. You're seeing, as someone who owns the industrial space, but then rent it out to tenants. What has that always been the case, and was there this shift, however many years ago, to now more of a renting mentality when it comes to and a tenant mentality when it comes to these industrial spaces?
You nailed it. It would say historically it would be the industrial business who was either making the thing or shipping the thing out of the building. They were usually the owner of the real estate. They owned the land, they owned the building, they occupied it, they facilitated their business out of that facility. What's changed, and what I would say, I mean, you could go pick your date on when it like really changed. I think it started before the GFC in, '07, '08, that time, and then coming out of the GFC especially is when that really started to change a lot, and that industrial became an investor class piece of real estate. And so investors saw the benefit of owning these facilities, these pieces of real estate, leasing it to those businesses and collecting rent from them instead of the businesses owning it themselves. And the businesses were interested in it because they were running their business. Their primary source of income as the business owner was, the revenue coming out of the business. Well, all of a sudden they were getting offers for their real estate that exceeded the value of the business. I mean, exceeded the level of revenue they were achieving with the business. So they're going, hold on,
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency, it's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
I can sell my business, stop working, sell my real estate, and cash out with more than I expected to get out of running my business. That sounds good. Yeah, I'll sell you the real estate. And I'm using an example there where they didn't continue to stay in the building and keep paying rent. But alternatively, I've seen it that way too, where they'll go, hey, I'll sell you the building, keep my business in it. I'll keep running my business. I'll just pay you rent instead of paying my mortgage to the bank. And the cash that they receive, the infusion that they received from selling the real estate, maybe allowed them to invest in more business lines or grow their business. It just gave them freedom cash to, go live their life and take a little pressure off of themselves from the business. I mean, it goes a lot of different ways. But yeah, but you're spot on. It didn't always be this way. It wasn't always this way. And then it more flipped in recent memory.
As you're really opening my eyes to this, as you're talking, I'm thinking about some areas of the country that I've been to where it looks like an old, industrial plant of some kind that has now been uh, rejuvenated, rehabbed into like a multi-use apartments, first story retail, beautiful areas. And I'm thinking, like, I wonder how those deals went down because these were, industrial parks of some kind that have now been transformed into another space. And you're talking about, selling the underlying real estate while then maybe renting out. I could see that happening, and I've seen it. Feels like in real time in places like San Antonio. Are you aware of why folks would not potentially want to be the owners themselves? Is it cost prohibitive for, larger entities to build? Is that why they would prefer to rent out versus to build?
There's a lot of factors to it. Example that you used of like the industrial plant getting converted to like a multifamily, new development. Those examples, a lot of the time, the real estate has become obsolete, would be the best word to describe it. It's like an old plant with processes that don't get used anymore. There's no one that wants to occupy that real estate, so its value is scraping it and building something new. But then to your question there, I think a lot of it comes down to, especially if you're running a business out of one of these industrial buildings, you have your return on the real estate. How much is it appreciating? How much, typically if you're an owner of the building, you run your business and the business pays you as the owner rent, in theory. And it's all a function of how you run your numbers. But point being, what I've run into a lot is these business owners, they run their business. They're really good at running their business. They're not real estate people. And they might get an offer for $2 million for their piece of real estate. Let's just use that number as an example. And they're going, okay, I can continue to hold my real estate that I know is $2 million, and I'm paying myself rent and it's going great and whatever, right? Or if I had 2 million and I'm gonna make up a number. I'm getting a 8% return on my $2 million, investment in my real estate. Well, if I had $2 million right now and I could buy this new machine to build, or buy this screen printer to print 100 more shirts per hour that I can then go sell on the internet. If I put $2 million into that, those 100 more shirts per hour, I'm going to generate $4 million a year in additional revenue. They're going, that's a way better return on my dollar than continuing to own my real estate and just hoping, it continues to appreciate and playing the real estate market. Sure, I'll sell and I'll reinvest in my business and I'll make more money that way. That's a huge motivating factor for a lot of these owner occupants. It's ability to generate more revenue via that medium than through their real estate.
Yeah, and you mentioned being able to focus on the business, right, and not being a real estate operator as the central driver of the business. I'm thinking about businesses like Starbucks that are huge tenants, right? But that choose not to be owners. But then and I don't know how true this is. I've heard McDonald's owns a lot of the property that they're at. I don't know if that's true or not. But it's different models, right? If you're the tenant coming in versus if you own the underlying real estate,
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
You could bank on appreciation if you own the real estate. Of course, if you're the tenant, that's not happening. At the same point in time, I actually just spoke with a commercial investor in Florida, I believe, who is mentioning to me that tenants like Starbucks will not do as much uh, rehab to the property. They expect it to be not turnkey, but they expect it to be at a point where they don't have to get it to their standard. Whereas another tenant might come in, if it's not a national brand, and say, we'll take this commercial space as is. So there is, some level of uh, power that you have being a national brand, and being able to kind of set, hey, this is the standard that we have as a tenant.
Yeah, no, you're spot on. Sometimes, I mean, a lot of times it comes down to a rent versus own analysis, cost associated with each. In some businesses, they can, and it boils down to usually what I kind of mentioned before is money spent buying the real estate and paying my mortgage? What kind of rate of return do I get on that versus can I just lease this space and invest it back, that same dollars that I would have spent buying the building, and invest it back into my business and get more revenue that way? Some tenants like Starbucks, the example you used, they like the flexibility that leasing gives them. If they own if they owned every building that they occupy, when they decide they want to up and change a location because that location doesn't work for them anymore, now they got to figure out what they're going to do with the real estate too. And so by leasing, it gives them flexibility. It's the same thing when you rent a house. If you're a a homeowner versus renting a house, you go buy a house, you're probably going to stay there for a considerable amount of time, right? Given what you invested, the closing costs and everything associated with the acquisition. If you rent a house, usually sign a 1-year lease. And if you want to move across town tomorrow, you can. So it's just it's personal preference and what you want to do. But businesses make very similar decisions in that regard as you would if you were just, going to go buy your own home.
Yeah, when we talk about being able to have that flexibility, especially when you're talking about something like e-commerce, right? Which is very competitive, right? So I mean, right now it's not just competition that you're seeing domestically, but like internationally. People now have the option to purchase goods from retailers that are not based out of the United States, maybe for a fraction of the cost, but maybe a longer lead time to when they'll be getting, Christmas gifts per se, but at 50% of the cost. It makes things interesting. And those those retailers need industrial warehouses in order to store their goods. So it's hyper competitive, and not just competing with larger retailers, but you're also competing with folks who have you know customized like drop shipping type of services as well. I've seen a lot of that.
Yeah, well, and like for me, part of the reason I got into industrial real estate brokerage is I wanted to invest in real estate, and I was looking at it on the forefront, going like, "Gosh, this e-commerce thing, brick and mortar retail or direct to consumer e-commerce, these guys need these industrial buildings to store this stuff." And I only, as a personal consumer myself, I was like, buying online is great. And this was back in 2016. And I was like, gosh, I love buying online. It's so easy. I don't have to go to the store. It's fantastic. And I was thinking like, this is a trend. This is going to continue. And so I was like, why don't I put myself at the forefront and be the guy brokering these deals? And then at the same time, taking my brokerage income and personally investing myself and buying these warehouses myself. And that's exactly what I've been doing. We were, but like I'm really just a real estate broker by day so that I can be an investor at night. That's what I really like to do. For the record, I love doing both. I really do. But my personal goal is to just keep investing in industrial real estate. And I pick industrial to invest in because it's what I know. It's what I'm good at. I touch and feel it every day. I feel like I really am good at it. So that's what I do.
We are coming up on time here, Matt. Where can folks go if they're interested in reaching out to you or your team, or maybe they have a deal that they'd like some feedback on? Maybe they're in the Washington area where you're at and would like to reach out to you. How can folks contact you?
Yeah, thanks. I'm pretty easy to find. I would say LinkedIn is probably the platform that I use the most as it relates to social media. I'm very active on there. I share a lot of what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis, tips and tricks, the kind of deals that I'm working on. So definitely find me on LinkedIn just by searching my name. My website is McLennanindustrial.com. So my last name, industrial.com. And then my company that I work for on the brokerage side of thing is Kidder Matthews. Between those three mediums, you should be able to find me pretty easily. And
Matt, thank you
I
so
would
much.
tell, yeah, and I would tell your listeners too, like, please, I love having these conversations like we're having today. So anyone who wants to reach out and learn more about industrial real estate, if they want to invest, if they want to see deals from me, that's what I do. So reach out anytime. Like I said, I'm easy to find.
Thank you for coming on the show today.
Thanks for joining us for today's show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing on your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. You can also check out the show's notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and even how to work with me directly one-on-one. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. See you on the next show.